Hey, how are you? Welcome back to our check-in. Welcome back to our check-in. It is February. We're here in February of 2023, and we're beginning, and hopefully you'll follow along with us. We're going to be beginning a series of getting a chance to talk about 7 topics, which we're simply labeling 7 lies that kill hope. And when I say hope, in this case, we're talking about hope that you can have a marriage that is rich, meaningful, a marriage that, as a Christian, honors God, but that really can last. One of the things we were talking about, and you can give my confirmation on this, was how the culture that we live in today is the modern culture. I think every culture has its challenges, but the way we live today, 21st century in our lovely technocratic paradise, it really does not necessarily, it's a toxic environment for marriage to last in the way the world is today. Is that a way of summing it up?
Yep. And we're working with a young couple now who's getting married very soon. And we were talking about becoming one, and the idea that so much in social media, so much in people's attitudes are negative against marriage. Like the first thing they'll say is, how long you been married? Oh, ain't gonna last. Girl, wait till the hard times start. Oh, da-da-da-da. And I can't imagine somebody saying that when you have a baby, right? When you have a baby, they're like, oh, love your baby. But when you talk about marriage, you get all the horrible stories, right? You know the famous, look to your left, look to your right, one of y'all gonna be divorced. It's like, what? We would never do that for so many other things, but when it comes to marriage, the culture around marriage is so toxic.
Yes. Yeah, look, the culture around marriage, it is toxic, as you know. We're starting off these 7 lies when Pam hit the first one. The lie is basically, you won't make it. The odds are stacked against you. You won't make it. The catch with this lie, if you believe this lie, you don't have the confidence, you don't have the hope that we can beat whatever the odds are going on around us, whether that be in our family history, whether that be in, Lord knows, in the celebrity world. And that alone can give this impression to your spouse, but even in your belief system of, yeah, when things get really, 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 really hard, it's probably not going to last. It's almost like you were saying, you hear a lot of stories about couples that you'll hear feedback where you hear stories all the time, people not making it. You hear about couples who look like they were doing great, then the kids leave the house and now they're divorced. Or you hear stories about the celebrity stories of one after the other, they're dropping. Recently, there was a woman I know that you were reading about who was one of this really, really great authors and talking about marriage and now she's divorced. And so you can begin to internalize that stuff and you've been, how are we going to make it if nobody else seems to be making it? But it's in the environment that's around us.
Right. So we have to dispel that lie and give people hope. Because it doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? So people make it seem like, boom, you were doing well, and then boom, all of a sudden, you can't make it, you can't do this. But there are specific things that you're doing that can lead you there. So that means there are specific things you can do that can lead you to a more hopeful end. And that's what we want to talk about.
Yes. I'll share something that's a little wild, a little scary. One of the ideas about really influencing people and the way our brain works is this idea called priming.
Okay.
Priming are those small things that can happen that set us up for a response. It's almost like when you go into a bad sales spiel, right? They'll do certain things, and advertisers know this, that they'll prime you that you'll likely engage, make the purchase. It's kind of a little bit of mind control. One of the first things that our culture will tend to do, ultimately, I believe it's evil, but this is what we're primed to do, knowingly or unknowingly in our culture. It works on our belief system that once we begin to internalize this probably won't last, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that when things get tough, we start leaning towards a divorce. That word starts buzz, the D word that should never be spoken, because we've already been primed. You watch enough TV, you speak to enough people, it's hard for that not to get in. And if that becomes an option, you are now primed under stress for your marriage when it hits a bump to not go well in terms of now we're talking about you're in this family of separation, which breeds even more insecurity and it makes the problems escalate. Is that a good summary?
Right, because it breeds an unrealistic expectation that you won't have trouble.
You won't have any troubles.
And the trouble is not the problem. Troubles are going to come. It's how are we going to work and stick together and help each other, because we're going to make it through the trouble.
We're going to make it through. One of my favorite scriptures, because it's just so clear. It says in 1 John in chapter 16, it says, "For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh and the desires of the eyes and the pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world in its present form, and the world is passing away along with its desires. But whoever does the will of God abides forever," or lives forever. Satan has always wanted to take away the concept of forevers. And in marriage, the world here takes away the hope that your marriage, I'm not talking about your neighbors, your uncles, your whatever, your marriage can last forever. Some encouragements. Fight to encourage each other and encourage yourself that your marriage can make it. That you guys will be around 10, 20, 30, 40 years. That you make it a vow. You don't talk or use what I like to call the what word?
The D word.
Do not use the D word. To build intimacy, you've got to have that sense we are bonded, we can go through pain, be very angry with each other, be very unhappy with each other for a period, and we're not going anywhere. We can love even when anger, resentment, confusion is in the room, but we're going to get through this. If you can communicate to your spouse, we're going to get through this. This won't last forever.
Right. Life has hills and life has valleys. And if you stick around,
just stick around
and you don't leave, that hill will be a valley, but that valley will then become another hill. But you have to stick around for the cycle.
I don't know where you are in your marriage right now. You may be at the lowest of the lowest of the low. Do not give up. Don't believe the lie. You can get through this, you and your husband, but both of you internalize this. Your marriage absolutely can make it. And with that, be ready for our next topic, because it'll build on this one. Until then,
this has been great.
This has been great.